For all the reconciliation and joy that found its way into the life of Elizabeth Bennet, there is a sudden development certain to ruin everything. Her youngest sister, Lydia, has gone missing. Rumour has it that she has eloped with Mr. Wickham, the devilish man Lizzie and Jane had thought to be much a part of their past. They were wrong, and now the world has become a dark and gloomy place. The disgrace that Lydia stands to bring upon the Bennet family is certain to be catastrophic. Word has it that the two are in London, where Mr. Bennet has gone to look for them. And Mr. Darcy's reaction to the news is grave indeed. It was in this moment that Elizabeth began to sense that never had she so honestly felt that she could have loved him. Darcy takes leave, and she saw him go with regret. At home, Elizabeth finds her mother in bed, in a flurry of plaintive lamentations, invectives against the horrid conduct of Wickham, and the many complaints of her sufferings. She would blame everyone but herself, and it's for Mary to shed wisdom on the matter. She says, "This is a most unfortunate affair, and will probably be much talked of. But we must stem the tide of malice and pour into the wounded bosoms of each other the balm of sisterly consolation." When Mr. Bennet arrives home without any success, he admits to a lack of judgment and says to his daughter, "Lizzie, I bear you no ill will for being justified in your advice to me last May, which, considering the event, shows some greatness of mind." A few days later, a letter arrives with important news. Mr. Gardiner has discovered the couple, and they are still unmarried. A set of conditions has been presented. All that is required is to assure to your daughter by settlement her equal share of the £5,000 secured among your children, and moreover, to enter into an engagement of allowing her, during your life, £100 per annum. There will be some little money left over, even when all of Wickham's debts are discharged, to settle on Lydia, in addition to her own fortune. The news is well enough, but it is very peculiar. Mr. Bennet says, "Generous good man, I'm afraid he has distressed himself. A small sum could not do all this." Lizzie says, "And are they really to be married? How strange this is." And as you can believe, Mrs. Bennet could hardly contain herself. Her beloved Lydia, married at 16, and with all the credit due to her dearest, most kindest brother. Mr. Bennet protested that Lydia should receive from him no mark of affection whatever on the occasion. And Lizzie burns with shame that the news had ever reached the ears of Mr. Darcy. When the couple arrives at Longbourn fully married, Elizabeth is disgusted, and Mr. Bennet was not cordial at all. But for Elizabeth, the developments turn peculiar indeed. During conversation, Lydia lets the name of Darcy slip from her lips. For what reason could Mr. Darcy possibly have for attending the wedding of his sister? Burning with curiosity, a secretive letter from her aunt tells her everything. It was Mr. Darcy who had supplied the funds for the rescue and everything else, not Mr. Gardiner. It was all his doing. Though it was implied that he had acted in this way from the onset of guilty feelings, that it was he who should have alerted everyone to the scheming character of Mr. Wickham. Elizabeth felt to herself otherwise. Her heart did whisper that he had really done it for her. There is more peculiar news to be heard of at Hertfordshire. Netherfield has received orders to prepare for the arrival of Mr. Bingley, who is planning to visit for a few weeks without the accompaniment of his sisters. It was news certain to ruffle the feathers of Mrs. Bennet, who felt that his behaviour towards them had been negligent at best. Elizabeth wavered as to the greater probability of his coming there with his friend's permission, as opposed to being bold enough to come without it. The reality stood invariably, however, and, as Lizzie truly believes, that Jane was in the greatest danger of making Charles as in love with her as ever. It was inevitable that he should pay a visit to Longbourn, and Elizabeth is quick to note that Darcy is with him. And yet, the man does nothing on his part to start a conversation. Lizzie says to herself, if he came only to be silent, grave, and indifferent, why did he bother coming at all? Mr. Bingley's continued visits become noticeable, and ultimately, there was nothing further to become a hindrance. Miss Jane Bennet and Mr. Charles Bingley were to be left alone. The outcome of this circumstance becomes obvious and known to everyone, and the Bennet family was speedily pronounced to be the luckiest family in the world. Elizabeth now smiled at the rapidity and ease with which the affair was finally settled, which had given them so many previous months of suspense and vexation. But her suspicions persisted. Some mysterious influence must be involved, that it was Darcy who had provided the gentle nudge which had sparked his friend into action. A week passed before it became evident that some unfamiliar carriage was fast approaching the Longbourn residence. Soon it was revealed that the Right Honourable Lady Catherine de Bourgh was to enter upon the household premises. She entered the room with an air more than usually ungracious, and made no reply to Elizabeth's most courteous greeting. The lady had come with the specific intention of speaking with her, and she addresses her without reserve. You can be at no loss, Miss Bennet, to understand the reason for my journey hither. Your own heart, your own conscience must tell you why I come. Lizzie answers, Indeed, you are mistaken, madam. I have not been at all able to account for the honour of seeing you here. Lady Catherine proceeds to excoriate Elizabeth on the rumour that is to suggest her own nephew, Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy, is to be wed to none other than Elizabeth Bennet herself. She demands an explanation for what must otherwise be a scandalous falsehood. Elizabeth coloured with astonishment and disdain, and denied any such knowledge of the report. Shrewdly, the lady says, Let me be rightly understood. This match, to which you have the presumption to aspire, can never take place. No, never. Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter. The engagement is explained as predestined and prearranged from birth, for the sole purpose of uniting the two vast estates, Darcy with de Bourgh. And now to have it all threatened by this yokel of a girl of such base and inferior birth. It was all preposterous, to be likened unto the arts and allurements of Lizzie's cunning as a young woman of no importance, no connections whatsoever. Are the shades of Pemberley to be thus polluted? Bearing the sting of the lady's insults, Elizabeth can tolerate no more, and she deflects further injury by insisting to be importuned no further on the subject. But it is for Lady Catherine to know, with absolute certainty, that Elizabeth will never entertain the notion of being married to Mr. Darcy. It is a certainty that Lizzie cannot assure, and fuming, the Lady Catherine takes her leave, a most incredibly angered woman. The discomposure of spirits into which this extraordinary visit threw Elizabeth could not be easily overcome. And with Darcy having gone to London, she wonders if he will ever bother to come back. Lizzie thinks to herself, "I shall know how to understand it. I shall then give over every expectation, every wish of his constancy. If he is satisfied with only regretting me, when he might have obtained my affections in hand, I shall soon cease to regret him at all." It comes as something of a surprise then, when Elizabeth finds that Darcy is back in the neighbourhood. Very little time passes before the two are finally alone with each other. She knows about Darcy's actions for the benefit of Lydia and Wickham, and he admits to his influence over Bingley. He is compelled to tell her what she must have known, that he had done it all for her, and that her interview with his aunt had taught him to hope. He says to her, "You are too generous to trifle with me. If your feelings are still what they were last April, tell me so at once. My affections and wishes are unchanged, but one word from you will silence me on this subject forever." The time is not long before it is for Mr. Bennet to express the utter shock and amazement that such a connection must produce, and his disbelief requires a moment of processing. Surely the girl was out of her mind. Had she not despised the man? Elizabeth was earnest and solemn in her reply. She explained the gradual change which her estimation of him had undergone, and she related with absolute certainty that his affection was not the work of a day, but had stood the test of many months' suspense. And enumerating with energy all of Darcy's good qualities did she conquer her father's doubts and reconcile him to the match. Book Time Learning is dedicated to the study of writing and literature. If our videos have been enjoyable or helpful in any way, please consider supporting our channel by clicking the like button and/or subscribing. And thank you for watching.